I should never forget this morning. Thanks, Warren, Patty, John, Lynn, Jim, CP. You helped us better to understand life, and we now know better what it's all about. When you arrived this morning, if you were unfortunate enough to run into me, or Don Sullivan or Bill Johnson, you were given a nice, shiny, Indiana-grown Buckeye, accompanied by a handshake. Now, some of you, few, may be so ill-informed in this room that you don't fully appreciate what a Buckeye is. It's a good luck symbol, much more fail-safe than a four-leaf clover, a horseshoe, a Ouija board, or a rabbit's foot. I've been carrying them for 33 plus years. I've been fit. And the conclusion I reached a long time ago in State Farm is that if you always carry one, if you rub them often, if you polish it well, and if you ask a lot of people to buy and work like the devil, good things really happen. Now, if you're feeling terribly underprivileged by the fact that you missed Don, Bill, or me with a Buckeye, see me, I have about a half a bushel left. Furthermore, these are very special Buckeyes because they grew on a tree on Al Hall's, Indiana fire manager Al Hall's place in Lafayette. Now, before you decide that State Farm's underwriting loss problems are so big that the regional vice president has in desperation taken to folklore and relying on good luck symbols for solutions, let me hasten on to somewhat more substance. I think it was a guy named Charles Dickens, who we all struggled over in high school English literature, who wrote a line somewhat like this: it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. You know, Dickens might have been describing our industry in 1985. Here are just a few indications that suggest for us at State Farm that these are the best of times. This is the good news. As Jim Clapper this morning indicated, 1985 was the year when the sale of State Farm Life, State Farm Fire, State Farm Auto in Indiana was greater than in any previous year in our 60-year history. In the first 10 months of 1985, you Indiana agents had sold more life insurance than you had sold in any previous full calendar year. Our gain in policies in force in fire and auto was also strong. And our own State Farm life insurance in force zoomed to more than $2.5 billion last year. Now that kind of contrasts with only $64 million of life insurance that State Farm had in force when this regional office of ours was opened in 1961. 1985 was also marked by the successful decentralization of our health operation to Indiana from Bloomington, Illinois. So from a sales standpoint, the cynics, the crybabies, the doomsayers, and to recall Spiro Agnew's deathless phrase, the nattering nabobs of negativism looked silly last year. For 1985 in State Farm sales turned out to be a triumph. And the worst of times, here's the bad news. For the second year in a row, our Indiana auto underwriting losses were very bad. I want you all to know and understand that we're grateful for the small underwriting profit in our state in fire and health. Company-wide, both State Farm's auto and fire underwriting results are very bad. That last sentence is so important, I'm going to repeat it in a somewhat revised version. Company-wide, our auto underwriting results are very very bad. Company-wide, our fire underwriting results are absolutely awful. Now, you'll be seeing in the months ahead this logo appearing on much of our print communications. You know, the longer I'm in the business, it's now been more than a third of a century, the deeper I believe in the strength of the State Farm partnership. When I was a young agent and manager, I can remember rather narrowly saying, nothing happens until sales. True, but not much good happens either until the application is approved and issued by the division. And when an accident or a fire occurs, from the point of the policyholder, nothing happens that is supposed to happen until the claim is paid. So it's a partnership we have in State Farm, a partnership at its finest. Agency needs operations. Operations wouldn't have a job without agents, and none of us would have a job without customers. State Farm people are putting their shoulders to the wheel this year to turn around 1985 experience when the State Farm Auto and the State Farm Fire Companies suffered their greatest underwriting dollar loss in history. Chief Financial Officer R.J. Bates, along with Mrs. Bates and Mrs. Ed Russ Sr., were in Lafayette in mid-December. Jim put it this way, and I quote, "Investment income in 1985 can pretty well balance this year's underwriting losses, but we cannot stand 2 or 3 years like this." End of quote. Why do we need a profit in underwriting? Is a question sometimes asked by the insurance novice and at times by the experienced insurance professional looking at our State Farm investment income. Well, it's a pretty good analogy to an insurance company's underwriting loss. Compare it to a person bleeding out of one arm, underwriting loss, and receiving a transfusion of blood, investment income in the other. Underwriting profit is our rainy day money. Where would we be today if we had not had a profit in the late 70s and early 80s? Many of you would be on a new business quota, writing only a few of the best risks, not writing in fire class 9 or 10, not writing any commercial risk. We are not doing these things in Indiana, or we're doing them only in moderation, because in past years we've made a reasonable underwriting profit and stuck most of it in the bank for these rainy days. I recently received a letter from Agent Bill Nuss, CLU, who said, and I quote, "We have to change the thinking of quite a few people to realize profit is a 6-letter word, not a 4-letter word, and that profitability can be achieved with growth." Quote. Well, I think you're right on both counts, Mr. Silver Scroll Agent and Consistent Quality Cabinet Agent Bill Nuss. Just as selling $1 billion of life insurance in 1986 is Indiana's #1 sales goal, correcting the underwriting loss problem in auto is our #1 challenge for 1986. We face unafraid the realization that it will take teamwork at its finest to lick this current problem. It is not alone an agency problem. It is not alone an underwriting problem. It is not alone a claim problem. It's our problem. And agency people, teamed with operations partners, create an unbeatable team. This may sound like an oversimplified answer to a near disastrous loss problem. I don't think so. I think it is rather a call to arms under the realization that the only way we're going to solve it is by all parties getting together, listening to all sides of the issues, and coming up with a joint effort necessary to do it. I realize what I'm talking about is already going on. I also know it is working. Everyone applauds all the work being done by each member of the partnership in trying to turn this auto loss situation around. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for what you did in 1985, for coming through in such strong fashion. There are those who feel the current parameters in commercial lines are damaging. I don't really think so. I stand on the conclusion that Bill Johnson reached when he said we'll be able to insure during 1986 at least 98% of the risk that we wrote in 1985. Agent Larry Rhodes, a big commercial writer who had first expressed dismay at the turn of events in commercial lines, put it this way, and I quote, "I feel we can easily live with these changes in 1986 and that the final line is not bad. I do plan to stay very active in the commercial market. Our market shouldn't be hampered much. I'm very excited about 1986 and feel it will be my best year ever." As we observed in 1985, our 60th anniversary as a corporate citizen in Indiana, and as we look ahead this year, this September, to the 25th anniversary of the opening of the Lafayette Regional Office, we continue to plan with confidence and enthusiasm for the long haul. So 1985 was the year when sales were excellent, when policy in force gain was strong, when we increased the number of agents in Indiana by 3, when auto rates went up and life rates prepared to come down, when the property and casualty market hardened and tightened, when the number of A.L. Williams agents in Indiana zoomed to 2,799. They had 326 at the end of 1982. When underwriting losses in auto in Indiana and in fire for the company were abysmal. There are those who say 1985 was both a time to cheer and a time to cry. For us at State Farm, we have much to cheer about. Yes, we had a fantastic sales year last year. The most auto apps, the most fire apps, the most life apps, the most volume we ever sold in Indiana. Let's do it all with profit in 1986. Thank you very much.